And we're live, boys and girls, with my homie, Freddy Pedrique from BJJ World TV. Freddy, brother, thank you so much for doing this with me.
Man, thank you so much for having me. A pleasure.
Absolutely mine, man. I mean, it's a crazy time we're living in. It's exciting and scary at the same time, but really, we were just saying right before going live how much action there's been off the mats versus usually on the mats in jiu-jitsu. Am I right?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, man. It's great to be able to see all these guys building a platform outside of just training and posting. They're like, you actually hear them talk, see what they're about. You're getting a lot of interviews. You're getting a lot of like online like techniques and stuff,
Yeah.
which is really cool.
That's a really good point. I mean, because a lot of the work that you do requires so much devouring of the internet and media.
Yeah,
When you're also an active trainer, like you're a purple belt in jiu-jitsu, you train regularly, right?
yeah, yeah. Every day.
So to train, work out, have some hint of a social life and do what you do, it's very
Yeah.
difficult in normal times. So I'm sure like this kind of phase allowed you to reorganize yourself a bit.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I was able to. I mean, again, the lockdown didn't really change my life as far as like the only thing I'm not doing is training those 4 hours a day. So I'm pretty much home all day. I'm used to being at home and working from home all the time. But you're right. It definitely opened up I had to explore a little more what else I can do besides just covering events
Yeah.
and actual training stuff. I had to dig deeper and get more into like the background and life stories of athletes and stuff, which I think, in my opinion, is my favorite part of the whole thing.
Man, that gives more wealth and it gives richness to the content now online. Because before it's like shallow and we just went to the fights. Now we're really
Yeah,
getting into the backstory and investing in our favorite fighters. And it really
yeah,
takes,
yeah,
you know, the reason I really wanted to talk to you today, and I was excited about this, we hear a lot about the grapplers, right? We see a
yeah,
lot of the videos, the chokes, the scrambles, and all that stuff. But who are the people that are giving us this content in order to see? How are
yeah.
they, like, what are the voices behind our favorite fighters? And that's why, man, we really need to talk to people like you in our sport to have this attachment, understanding how we're approaching martial artists. There's a big appreciation for you. I love what you're doing with BJJ World TV.
Thank you,
YouTube,
man.
Instagram, everywhere. You're on fire, bro. Like you're
Yeah,
really chasing after it, and I love it. So, being here on this part of the world, the Middle East is booming now in jiu-jitsu, right? We're not
yeah,
anywhere near where the US is, but it's starting to climb because of these forced measures. And like, have you heard of the Uae Jiu-Jitsu Federation and Palm Sports, what they've been doing?
yeah. You guys made it a school curriculum, am I correct?
Exactly, man. So
That's amazing.
one of the royal family members, Sheikh Tahnoon, he was studying in the US and he decided to start jiu-jitsu, fell in love with it. And
Yeah,
they didn't even know he was royalty. So they were calling him Bob. So at some point he goes and he talks to his coach and he's like, listen, professor, I'm so-and-so from this country. And
yeah,
he was the son of the ruler at that time. And he decided
yeah.
to bring jiu-jitsu into the UAE. Time goes by and it becomes a national sport. Every kid over the age of 7 trains Brazilian jiu-jitsu and it's free for
That's so
anybody living in
awesome.
the country.
Yeah,
We have 600 black belts and rising from Brazil here. Huge names. Ramon Lemos,
yeah,
Gordo was training people here at some point. We've got just a crazy amount. But we're a very quiet region in Jiu-Jitsu. We don't have anybody like Freddy Pedrique. We don't have BJJ
yeah,
World TV. We don't have this. So this is where I'm starting to buid up this platform so we can start voicing ourselves here and reaching out, but also
yeah,
reaching across that pond to people like you.
yeah. Absolutely. That's a big move.
Where do you see this whole media shifting as well around the world? Because you're called BJJ World, not BJJ US. How much
Yeah.
exposure do you focus on around the world?
I mean, my whole goal is just really like expanding the sport, like you said, worldwide. It's
Yes.
not just in the US, it's all over the place. So, I mean, I took this as an opportunity to do what I love instead of having to work for somebody else, having to clock in and clock out and ask for days off. I was like, man, I might as well just, if I'm so obsessed with this sport
Yeah.
and this lifestyle, I might as well just figure out a way to make a little bit of change in it, you know? So it was a no brainer. Once I got started, it was like, there was no looking back, you know? But as far as like where I wanted to out, like you said, I want to reach the sport worldwide. So eventually it could be like it is for you guys, where like maybe it's not like the national sport in the country, but kids are training more because I think this could like change people's lives. You know?
I get you, man. That's the thing. Like, we are an experiment of jiu-jitsu that's never been done before in any
Yeah.
sport. And you get to see two sides of the coins. We have a saying in the Middle East, it's what's on offer becomes cheap. So
Uh-huh.
in the US, because it's not so available to every single child, it makes it a bit more desirable in a point.
Yeah.
When it becomes like, for example, math, right, or science or biology, it's in school, taught everywhere. The kids are like, oh, screw that shit. It's everywhere.
Yeah.
But
Absolutely.
but imagine math or science wasn't available in school, and it's like this underground thing that you got to go meet up with friends in order to read about. Then people start getting
Yeah.
way more interested about it and stuff. So what's happening here is we're getting an abundance of jiu-jitsu, and the value needs to be really highlighted.
Yeah.
And that's what we try to do with these talks. But I like what you were saying about trying to expand internationally. But I'd like to get to know you a little bit more, Freddie.
Sure.
How did you get started in BJJ? Where are you originally from in the States?
Okay. So I'm from Miami, Florida.
Oh, nice.
I was born in Venezuela. I moved to Miami when I was 1999, so I was like 7 or
Nice.
8, something like that. And lived in the same house. My parents live in the same house. I started training one of my best friends. Me and him used to do karate together. We played baseball together. Ultimately, after high school, none of us were good enough to play baseball for real, for real.
Okay.
So my friend started doing jiu-jitsu, and I just, after college, going to college, regular thing.
Right.
My friend every day is like, "Yo, come train, man. Come train. You're gonna love this stuff. You're gonna love this stuff." At the moment, I wasn't really like interested in it. I was like, looks weird, man.
Mm-hmm.
If anything, I'd rather do like some striking or something.
Right.
And then, dude, one day, I don't know what it was. He was like, "Let's go," and I was like, "Okay, let's go." And I went, and I've been training ever since. Like, I just fell in love with that first class.
What
And,
was the gym that you went to? Was it like a Brazilian coach, an American coach?
so the first gym I went to was it's called Extreme MMA under this guy named Michael Cardozo. He actually just reffed the UFC fights this weekend in Jacksonville.
Nice.
But at the moment, he was going through some life things where he wasn't the head coach. The instructor that was there was a guy named Gabriel Pinto. And he's not Brazilian. I think he's from Ecuador, if I'm mistaken. He was supposed to be like on the Ecuador Olympic Taekwondo team or something like that. Super, super legit guy as far as martial arts go. He was already a black belt when he was teaching. And when I took that class, he didn't take it easy on me, which is what I really liked. I see people that they'll go to their first class and they can't roll or anything like that. I think that would have drove me away. That first class, he was my first roll, and he submitted me like 27 times in like 7 minutes. And I was like, "Yo, this is what I need." I think this is amazing.
Wow.
That was it, man.
Yeah, man. When you get face to face with a black belt going from scratch, it's terrifying.
Yeah.
You realize how weak and incapable you are. Like, it's because boxing, you feel like I could have had him. Even if he's the greatest boxer, like if I pushed a little bit, I could have. Jiu-jitsu, it's an absolute no. No, I'm not getting anywhere close to this human.
I don't think there's a puncher's chance in boxing and stuff. I don't think that exists in jiu-jitsu. I mean, anybody can win on any other given night, but it's less likely than, just throwing a fucking hook and knocking somebody out. Like this is like a little bit more mental.
Yeah, I mean, okay, MMA proves the fact that sometimes a striker could beat a grappler, like a striker with zero grappling background. But if it's strictly in grappling, man, even wrestlers that come from a very experienced background have a hard time with a black belt jiu-jitsu if submission's allowed. But that's cool. So you started in Florida, and what brought you to California?
So I was in Florida. Then I went away to college for a little bit in Tallahassee, Florida. I was supposed to go to Florida State University up there. I went there, got caught into like the partying and stuff, and stopped going to school. And then eventually I was like, you know what, man, I need to do something because school is not the route for me. So I started a clothing company with one of my roommates at the time. And we were there. We had the clothing company.
Wow.
We started printing our own stuff. Like we actually bought machines to print our own stuff to get like costs down and stuff. And then we found that people figured that like, hey, we have this machine to print clothes and stuff. You guys want to do stuff for my business, for my band, for, companies. And then eventually my clothing brand took like the backseat, and I just started doing a custom apparel company. In a couple months we had like a warehouse, employees.
That's crazy.
And all this, guys. Yeah, it was a good time, but it was so busy. This is like the first time I took a year off jiu-jitsu. It's like a little more years, like a year and like 3 months almost. And I liked what I was doing. Again, the whole drive of me being my own boss kept me going and stuff. I love that, but I definitely missed that aspect of training. At that moment, I was a blue belt, so I was already training for a little bit, and same passion that I have now, But at the moment, I didn't really think I could make money doing this stuff. So I stuck to the clothing company and the printing, and I did that for like a year and a half. I visited my friend who got me into jiu-jitsu at this moment, now lives in New York. He trains at ITC under Quinn Chris Quinn or something like the Pizza Jitsu, if you know him on Instagram.
Okay.
Trained there, and man, got my ass beat. Like I got my ass beat the first time I ever trained.
Wow.
And on the metro back with my friend Sebastian Birdie, he was like, he was sitting on one side of the train, I was sitting on the other side of the train. My phone had died at this point. I just put my headphones on because I didn't want to talk to anybody, and I was like, man, I need to go back to doing this. I can't take a year off or more, you know. So I actually came back to Tallahassee. Within like 2 months, I found a buyer for the company. I sold it. And went back to Miami for a year, and with the money I had to save so I could like live and stuff, and I was like trying to figure it out. And then I just started watching YouTube, and I saw that there was like a whole bunch of, I love MMA, I love the UFC, and so I was watching. I got the inspiration from MMA World, the YouTube channel.
Yes.
And I noticed that they do amazing with MMA news, and then I was like, man, you know what, there's like not this for jiu-jitsu. So
absolutely,
that was it. I started the channel that right then and there. Actually the first 2 videos they did really, really well, and then ever since then I haven't really looked back. And then I moved to California. I moved to LA for I've always kind of wanted to live in California. And then just the fact that the jiu-jitsu here is better, there's more competitions here. It was like a no-brainer, you know.
So that decision was based on jiu-jitsu moving to California.
Yeah, it was like 75% jiu-jitsu, 25% just some place that California is always somewhere I want to live.
Man, it is a beautiful place, and I mean,
oh man, yeah,
man, I like how you got your head screwed on straight from a very young age, because most guys, they go to university because they don't know what the fuck they want to do. Now, most guys, like very few, like doctors, engineers, maybe a certain amount of faculties go into university or college, they know what they're going into. You're like, fuck that. I want to actually get my hands dirty and do something. And I love that way more than people spending their life studying.
Yeah.
So you've always been ambitious, you've always been driven, but you found your passion and what made you want to wake up every day researching and working in jiu-jitsu, yeah?
Yeah, absolutely, man. It was a moment where like, I remember my business partner at the time, we were working on designs for like companies and stuff, and I was just like on my laptop watching Stuart Cooper videos. And I remember he was like, man, you watch too many jiu-jitsu videos and stuff. And at the moment I was like, man, you're probably right. Like, you know, whatever. When I look back at it now, I'm like, man, I kind of had an idea. I would just kind of like more focus in like trying to make ends meet. And like you said, like I didn't take the traditional route of like going to school and having like a job, like a 9 to 5. Like I kind of always had that like, man, I need to figure it out for myself type thing.
You know, Freddie, I always tell people, you want to have a life like everybody else, follow the path that everybody else follows, because everybody's following this career, college, get a job and everything, and everybody doesn't seem so happy in their life. But you see the guys that actually follow their own and carve their own path, they end up smiling a lot more throughout the day. They end up having a lot closer relationships. And I'm so happy to hear that you were able to turn this passion into a business. Like it's your full-time job now, yeah?
Yeah, it's my full-time job. When I moved in LA, it was my part-time job. I actually had a job at Best Buy for a little bit, but now I'm at the point where just doing BJJ World. And then of course I have another YouTube channel. It's like an MMA-based channel. But now I work for myself full-time, and I'm making more money than I was when I did own that company, you know? So it just kind of came full circle.
That makes me so happy to hear, bro. Like I love hearing stories like this and people just going after what they love and figuring out. A lot of people have these huge expectations, you know, like I want to start a jiu-jitsu gi brand and I want to be the top show your role brand. It's like, no, man. Like if you do it in the aim for the money, right? If you're doing it like,
it's not gonna work.
Yeah, it's not gonna fucking work out. It's gonna be transparent. But when you just enjoy the grind and you're willing to put in ridiculous hours, like I'm asking you, is this full time? Because I follow your content. I followed it long before we started talking. And I'm like, man, this guy spends a lot of fucking time researching. You don't just do this for an hour a day.
No, absolutely. This is an all day thing most of the time, you know, like I kind of give myself a schedule, you know, like so like I was telling you, I'm not a traditional school guy, but I am a very traditional schedule guy. I'm very easy to get off track. Like if I don't have a schedule, I can say, oh, forget it, I'm not gonna do this. So you have to be hard on yourself if you want to do this type of stuff. Like you can't, like it sounds cool that you get to work from home and be your own boss, but you kind of have to be more responsible this way than if you went the traditional route and got a job. You know, you have the boss to tell you when to come in, when to not. Like for me, like, you know, I have days that I don't want to do anything, but like I have to do something, because if not, then, you know, I can't pay my rent, you know?
Man, it's crazy. When you run your own business, or especially when you work from home, that line between work and personal life gets very grayed out and almost transparent. So you don't know where your life starts and where your work ends. So like, as long as you're passionate about it, I'm sure it doesn't matter. But how do you balance having your own personal life, your own jiu-jitsu, and
Yeah.
running this kind of
Yeah.
work?
So that was definitely easy when the school was open. I actually found like the beginning of the quarantine was kind of hard, but during like I said, I've always been the homebody type who's always working from home. But
Yeah.
I had those 4 hours to go outside and train and be a kid. That's like my therapy.
Yeah.
So as far as like when we were training and everything was open, it was I always trained in the morning, so I would wake up in the morning, have a little breakfast, go to school, and I'll be back from the academy like at noon, almost 1 p.m. Come eat lunch, and then just start working.
Wow.
Start whether it be like listening to interviews, podcasts, checking people's Twitters, like just pretty much scavenging the internet for anything that's news, and then trying to make like a graphic out of it or a video out of it. But yeah, man, usually I would wake up at 7 a.m., go training, all this stuff, go home, work, and I'd be in bed like 10, training. Not training, sorry, making jiu-jitsu content and stuff, getting stuff scheduled for the next day. Once you get into a role and you start scheduling stuff, it becomes so much easier. So much easier.
Absolutely. That makes a lot of sense. Like, and it's good that you can organize yourself that way.
Yeah.
Do you have a team with you, or is it just you right now?
So I get a lot of help at the beginning. I got a lot of help from my brother on the BJJ channel.
Cool.
And then once we started the MMA channel, and the MMA channel kind of grew because like a bigger platform, I do BJJ World by myself now, and now me and him do MMA Central. What's the name of the channel? Together. But I mean, he still helps me out. Like for example, he shot the Substars event in Miami.
Yeah.
Because he's back in Miami, so I kind of have like a East Coast guy, nice, which is my brother, nice, and then I'll be like the West Coast guy. But as far as anything you see on Instagram and YouTube, I made it.
Very cool, man. And like just out of doing the podcast that I'm doing, you realize how much like Photoshop, Audition, Premiere, like you got to be the guy for everything. Yeah. So you had to learn all of this on your own, right?
Yeah, man. YouTube University, I got a PhD in that, man. All I did was, but that goes with everything. Anything, it's not even just jiu-jitsu. Anything I'm like interested in learning, like whether it could be, like you said, science or math. Like I'll just, if I'm interested in it, I'll indulge in it. But yeah, man, all the editing stuff, I have no background in this. So like, I taught myself how to edit, taught myself how to, shoot video, taught myself how to make Photoshop and make stuff, so it's kind of like, I was interested. So you learn it, like when you're not interested, it's very hard to learn something you're not really into.
Man, you are the highlight of what I enjoy to see in life and people that are determined, because I'm so over this whole archaic system that we have, shuttling people like cow through their lives.
Yeah.
I mean, like you said, for YouTube alone, it's unbelievable how much you can learn for free, for absolutely free.
So much information. So, I mean, even if you didn't want to go to YouTube, there's so many universities that have online courses for free. Like I think MIT is one of them and stuff. Like, there's really no excuse anymore with the internet. Like if you really want to learn how to do something, you don't have to go and read a book or whatever. Like, dude, it's on the internet. Just like figure it out.
I think because of our family, our parents and our parents' generations, they relied so much on the certification versus what you're actually learning. Because like everybody's like, there's a million people applying for the job. Who has the better certificate? Now it's who's got the more unique perspective. And in order to get that, like I can get a Harvard degree now for free, but I don't get the certificate. Does that mean I didn't get a Harvard degree?
Yeah, exactly.
That's the weird thing.
I mean, this took a long time for me to even, like my parents for the longest were like, this is dumb. Like, yada, yada. I mean, they've always been supportive. Like they're like, yo, we'll support you. But they're kind of like, yo, like school's the way. But like you said, we come from parents who, that is the way, they don't know any better. Like my parents my dad graduated from military school. His dad's a military school graduate. My mom has a degree in publications. Her dad is like a fighter jet guy. And, like just the school family, that was me. And weirdly enough, me and my brother didn't turn out that way. We always from the get-go kind of wanted to find our own way to make money.
I love that. And your brother trains martial arts as well?
So ironically, we did karate together. He doesn't train jiu-jitsu or anything right now. But he does like from time to time, go like same thing. He'll go on YouTube, look at some Muay Thai stuff and then hit the bag,
Nice.
So like not like a traditional school, but he dabbles. He loves, MMA and stuff. We've both been watching the sport since like UFC 100, so we've been doing this for like a long time.
And have you ever traveled outside of the US for any martial arts experiences?
No, man, not outside the US. No.
Okay. Man, because you hear a lot of people like they get through that certain phase where they go hit Thailand, they go to Brazil, they
Yeah.
tried that. Are you planning on any of these kind of excursions?
Well, I've been trying to, so I downloaded the app Duolingo and I've been trying to learn Portuguese for like 3 months now. I haven't learned anything at all,
Yeah.
but I would love to go to Brazil once I
Yes.
can and train there for a little bit. I actually was supposed to go to Amsterdam before COVID ruined everything and
Mm.
shoot one of the seminars. They had like like Rubber Guard Assassins was throwing like an event over there,
Yeah.
like a no geese camp over there in Amsterdam, and they invited me to go. Like it's crazy. Like the COVID came, and I was in that like role of like people were inviting me to go shoot at different places and travel, which is kind of like my passion.
Wow.
But I'm just kind of waiting patiently until this opens up so I could go back to doing that stuff.
It's funny you mentioned this because I was just on Instagram and I got hit up by 10th Planet Jiu-Jitsu Amsterdam. And I think that's exactly where you were going to
Yeah.
go shoot that
Yeah,
seminar.
I was going to go there.
Man,
Yeah,
Jiu-Jitsu, it makes the world a smaller place. And honestly, like,
absolutely.
yes, Duolingo will help you learn that language, but man, you already speak the language there. You train Jiu-Jitsu, you're a purple belt. So
Yeah, that's true.
I think it's being a person living in the Middle East with so many Brazilians that came here. Most of them don't speak Arabic, and some of them
Yeah.
don't even speak English. So
Yeah.
the bonding language was Jiu-Jitsu always with them. And now I travel to Germany, I travel to Europe, and dude, I don't need the language. I just walk into the gym,
Yeah.
get on the mats,
Yeah.
slap bumps, and I've got best friends. I got people
Yeah,
to hang out with for a
absolutely.
week. It's fantastic. But
Yeah.
now I can't wait to see what kind of content comes out of BJJ World and from you once you start traveling.
Yeah.
Because the world is booming right now with Jiu-Jitsu.
Yeah.
Europe, the Middle East, Asia. Asia is looking crazy, man. I did a few podcasts
Crazy, yeah.
with Bruno Barbosa from Malaysia,
Mhm.
and that was fun. I don't know if you got to check it out, but just this,
Yeah, I did.
the scene there is insane. So are you, in terms of Jiu-Jitsu, are you modern kind of Jiu-Jitsu guy or are you fundamentals? Where do you sit?
I would definitely say I'm definitely more of a modern guy, I would
Okay.
say.
Okay.
But I'm also like when I'm training, I'm very experimental. Like I don't mind. I'm not the type of person that would hold somebody in side control for the whole round just because that means I won.
Okay.
I enjoy more getting out of bad positions. I remember
Nice.
as a white belt for the first 6 months, all I did was not purposely. They were doing it because they could, but
Yeah.
in a sense, I was like, okay, I'm here. I can survive here. But yeah, I would say I'm more of like a modern type jujitsu plays. Not really like super fundamental and like holding side control, holding that. Like I like experimenting, having fun, getting submitting people. I think that's like the most fun part of it.
Man, it's funny because I was my coach Rodrigo Shimbika and Zumbi Lara. They're very old school guys, right?
Yeah,
And when you talk to them about these new techniques and online, and you show them YouTube videos, and they just push it away. And
Yeah.
they don't even want to see it because
yeah,
to them he was explaining, and this is where media comes in, Freddy. They're saying when we grew up, the closest we got to Jiu-Jitsu was Gracie magazine, right?
Yeah.
Or Jiu-Jitsu magazine at that time. And they'd open it, they'd see a technique, and it was like neon belly. It wasn't like
yeah.
berimbolo or anything crazy.
Bad Barlow, yeah.
So for them, in order to get a new update into their Jiu-Jitsu, it would be like 2-3 years apart.
Yeah.
So it makes them fundamental hounds, which is what makes the
Yeah.
Jiu-Jitsu scary, but they're a bit close-minded to what you're saying, experimenting and being like, okay, show me this. Let's try, let's play
Yeah.
with it.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of the old school Brazilians, and I'm sure you've seen this in your work, until they face someone like Keenan, until they face someone like Craig Jones, Z-Guard, and start doing some
Yeah.
new interesting stuff, once they hit a wall with it, that's when they take it seriously. But before that, they don't
Yeah.
really, like, fuck it, I don't want to look into it until they
Yeah.
fight somebody. Do you think,
Yeah, absolutely.
do you think with the rise of instructionals and all this content being put out there, people should be adapting their game to everything? Or is that too confusing?
Yeah. I think so for me, I was very blessed to be able to learn the very traditional jiu-jitsu. When I did move to Tallahassee, my instructor was one of the first Alliance black belts.
Oh.
So I grew up, or I started with that.
Ooh.
So I respect it. And I remember one time, which stuck with me for a long time, his name is Felipe Neto. He was like, guys, I'm going to teach you the basic stuff. You guys want to go on YouTube and learn something? That's awesome. You guys could drill it here after class. But the reason why I emphasize teaching you this basic, like rudimentary stuff is because when that stuff you learned online doesn't work, this will always be there for you. So I'm like, okay, man, you know what? You're actually right. So
Very
like
true.
fundamentals, like I respect them, I have them. You know, luckily I came up with an instructor that like that was a big thing for him. And he always gave us the opportunity to like, hey, you can go ahead and learn other things, but just always know that you have this to fall back on. So as long as people, yes, explore, learn new stuff, fail, because I think that's like the most important part. Like you need to try this stuff and actually fail doing it so you and your friends can figure out why it's failing.
Absolutely.
But always have that peace of mind that you can always just go back to your regular stuff, and that stuff is like foolproof, you know, like it should get you out of trouble. It should contain the situation. And then if, you know, you could take it from there. But I think having that background is very important. But I also think that having that open mind and going forward and like learning is also very important, because now you're just going to get left behind.
No, that's very true. The thing that I see a lot is a lot of guys, they start depending on this new technique. In Jiu-Jitsu, the new technique that not many people know about tends to be more effective. But as it ages, its effectivity still starts declining. What happens is a guy comes in, he learns lapel guard before everybody, right? Maybe he's a blue belt. He starts using lapel guard, gets so much success even with higher belts that he ditches his other game. He might even get promoted to purple belt without fully developing any other game other than his lapel. And that's where I feel like it can get dangerous. So many people are getting caught up with these instructionals and high-level techniques when they still didn't master the low-level techniques. Or not low-level, but the fundamentals.
The fundamentals, yeah.
When you're traveling a lot in the States, you're meeting a lot of people. Do you get to train with them?
Yeah. So I had just come back from this Craig Jones seminar tour, and we hit like 20 or 21 cities in like it was like 6, 7 weeks, 8 weeks, almost something like that. It was almost 2 full months. Yeah, it was fun, man. We were traveling every other weekend, sometimes twice a weekend, sometimes the middle of the week. But yeah, man, I got to pretty much. So the first half of the trip, I was strictly the videographer, but I still would get to train with these guys. Not at the seminar because I had to work during the seminar, but during the week we'd always go and train somewhere. You know, like regular, like if we were here back at home, you know. So I got to train with him every day. And then after the second half of the tour, the original Uae, Isaac, Michelle, which is his, I guess, up and coming guy from Australia.
Okay.
He had to go back to Australia because visa issues. So I became the Uae for the second half of the trip. So then for the second half of the trip, I was just strictly, I mean, I still did a lot of videography and stuff like that. But as far as like the seminars goes, I was fully training with Craig. I was fully rolling with Craig. Like I got to see the whole thing, and it's like incredible, man. And it's like definitely the most toughest person I've ever rolled with, and also like the most intellectual person I've ever rolled with. Like it's like a different game. It's like hard to explain. You have to kind of like feel it. There's just definitely levels to the game.
Man, absolutely. Like when you see people like Craig Jones, when you look at Gordon Ryan and these people, they've got similar wavelengths that they're sitting at. And they're looking at a game from such a macro, almost third-person perspective where they can see all the pieces fit in. Like I just watched Craig Jones' Z-Guard instructional. I checked it out. And just the small details, the small things that he does and the way he looks at the positioning and your distance from the other guy. Small things that are huge. Once you adapt them to your game and train with a guy that doesn't know it, it's incredible. But I see a huge perk right now in what you're doing when you go and get
the best part about it is that like I'll go home, like I literally came home from this trip and I have hours and hours and hours of video of just like not only technique but like breaking down like experimenting stuff. Like he's coming out with the next instructional is going to be the reverse Z guard, so he's coming up with a new guard. It's actually a very good guard for MMA. And just I have videos of literally from the moment he like figured out this is the guard. So like in a week he had like 4 moves from that guard, and I have video from just like the whole week. It just seems so fast to me. I feel like if I learned a technique that I want to kind of grow into a system, it would take me months. This guy just came up with 4 or 5 moves in a span of a week. And it's just crazy how fast, you know, it just comes to these guys. It's kind of like it's like a different language, you know. It's so interesting. Man,
that must be a thrill to be sitting right at that front seat to see how that evolves into his own game. Man, you bring up a very interesting point about something being effective as a guard for MMA, because you don't really get to see too many effective guards other than the traditional ones for MMA. Like forget lapel guard, but like you look at Z guard would be a dangerous guard to play in MMA. So maybe, I don't know what reverse Z-guard would actually look like, but do you know any other players that you think their guard would transition well into MMA?
In jiu-jitsu who would transfer well to MMA, I think I think Craig's guard would be awesome for MMA. I think somebody like Gordon, his guard would be very good for MMA, just because I think the new meta is wrestling from the bottom, and these guys are very good at wrestling from the bottom. If you watched ADCC, there was not a lot of, I mean, there's wrestling and stuff, but a lot of guys will be willing to take it down, especially the DDS guys, knowing they can balance you, offset you, come up to like a single leg from shin on shin or whatever, and be effective with it. And I think that's like those type of guys have a good chance of going to MMA and doing well. Like guys like Gary Tonin has been in a 1FC and just been killing it.
Yeah.
You haven't even need to see much of his jiu-jitsu. You haven't really seen any of his clothes. I think the best guard in MMA right now has to be Kron Gracie. We haven't really even seen much of it, but there isn't really until I saw this reverse Z.
Yeah.
And what he it's not like a guard you can chill in. It's definitely a guard to like stand up and get him off you.
Yeah.
There isn't really a lot of guys in MMA right now playing guard. It's kind of like a lost art, really. Like not a lot of guys do it anymore.
That's true. That's true. But you know what? I think the real reason that's not happening is because you're getting a lot of times lopsided fights when it comes to grappling. You're getting someone like Kron Gracie versus someone who doesn't have as deep of a jiu-jitsu, so he avoids the fuck out of it. Yeah. That's why we don't see guard. They just run the fuck away from a guard situation.
Yeah.
If we end up seeing an MMA fight like Gary Tonin, Kron Gracie, whoever it might be, like just two high-level jiu-jitsu, that's when I think we'll start seeing some interesting guard for MMA.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm very, very excited about that. So there's a lot of shit going on right now in jiu-jitsu, right? Even though there's very little fighting in comparison to before, but there's a lot of shit brewing because it's all about, promoting and getting excited about it. First on MMA, I just saw right before going live, Tom DeBlas is saying he's coming back to fighting.
Yeah, him and one championship, which is where Gary fights, so they have like a close connection.
Yes.
They came up with a deal. I don't know the details of the deal, but he'd be doing MMA. It looks like he's going to be doing heavyweight and with a possibility of doing lightweight.
Yeah.
I know that the weight classes at one are a little different than they are here in the States.
Okay.
I don't know if you know them. I don't really, I'm not like too knowledgeable on their weight classes, but I know the weight's different. It's not like 155 here is lightweight. I think 155, lightweight over there, I think it's like 160, 170 or something like that. It's like different.
Interesting.
So I don't know what weight he is, but yeah, looks like he's gonna be fighting a heavyweight and possibly even lightweight or light heavyweight. Sorry.
Crazy decision, but I mean, the guy's jiu-jitsu is definitely gonna give him a leg up. Do you do you're broadcasting the news of jiu-jitsu, and obviously there's so much going on that you can't really go too deep on a certain topic. Are you planning on going deeper into like the journalism side of jiu-jitsu as well?
Yeah, I think for like the channel, for me, like when I started this, it was because MMA World, but I also had I was telling you, I love Stuart Cooper. I think the documentary part and the story side of things are my favorite. I get it. Everybody trains hard, everybody's tough, but I really like what the guys do when they go home. Some guys are fucking video game freaks and they love video games. Some guys, do other things. And I think that's the interesting part. Guys have bigger personalities than like what they show because they're just used to showing each other training. But I mean, hanging out with guys like Greg, just hanging out, I'm like, this guy's like a normal person, telling me stories from him growing up are not too different from the stories of me growing up or other people that I know growing up. So I'm like, I enjoy that part of the game. So I think for me, the news are always going to be a thing. I'm always going to be doing news, but I think what I'll get into, especially once this lockdown is lifted,
right?
It's more like following guys around, doing like mini documentary series, that type of work. I think I'm more passionate about. I love the news, of course. I wake up and I listen to interviews. It's kind of like my morning ritual, but I definitely enjoy more of that aspect of getting to know these people outside of just training, and like their everyday life. What they do outside of the mats. Hobbies and stuff, because everybody has a crazy story, man. Like I've met so many guys and they all have so many crazy stories that I wouldn't have known if I didn't get to actually meet them and chill with them, like outside of like a training level. This is like having lunch with these guys or visiting these guys. I like that part of what I do more. It's
a different ball game, man, and I think you're right on the money, because this is how people get invested in fighters. In order for two fighters to promote, if you're not emotionally invested in them, it's just going to be team versus team, which has been jiu-jitsu's history. Gracie Baja versus I don't know who. But
Yeah.
if you really go deeper, like Edwin Najmi, when you were talking about gamer and background lifestyle, I'm thinking
Yeah.
Edwin Najmi,
Yeah.
and then you talk about Craig Jones. If somebody was to spend a week with Edwin Najmi and really see his life, and then a week with Craig Jones and see his life, then you see who's the person I relate to more. And now when these two get into a fight, you don't just back Gracie Baja versus whoever. It's personalities versus personalities.
Yeah. You fall in love with the story, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Like you're saying, you're related to a lot of Craig's stories, so it makes you feel closer to him.
Yeah, yeah.
Oof, I'd be so excited to see that. We don't have anywhere near, like we're literally sitting on the beginning of jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
Everybody thinks it's been existing for so many generations, sure, but I feel like it's still a baby. It's not even a mature martial art.
The game is definitely, I think like if I started what I started a couple years ago with this channel, like if I started it now, it would definitely be a lot harder to build up than it was then, because when I started there was nothing. And even now there's nothing. So like the possibilities are endless. You know, like I think this is the time for people to start getting into not just media and stuff like that, but just like like if you're a jiu-jitsu athlete, like start making vlogs, start making what Edwin does with his gamer like stream and stuff. That's genius. Like I think people need to do that to grow the sport, because it's so little right now.
I agree, man. It's a sensitive topic for a lot of people, because I see a lot of these black belts that have spent their entire lives training and teaching jiu-jitsu. Their only means of income is literally the traditional route of becoming a black belt, opening my academy, teaching students, and then grinding. They get too old. They hope to God they got enough brown and black belts under them to keep running their academy. I think, unfortunately, up to today, that seemed to be the only really profitable way for most people, right?
Yeah.
Now,
but I think they learned, like what you said, you're getting at. It's like this changed the game for a lot of people. You realize that like that's not the only way. Like you need to have. I mean, for me, like even from like the small business background that I have, for me, it was always finding multiple sources of income.
Yes.
And like revenue. So like these guys need to be making merchandise. These guys need to be making their own YouTube channel, selling their own, like the DVDs obviously work. You know, like they need to figure out more things than just opening up your school, because like you said. That's an awesome way to do it. And like, that's where I want to go one day. I want to open up my own school one day.
Yes.
But you need to have more. Your portfolio needs to be, especially in sport jiu-jitsu where the money's not MMA money. Maybe if you're an MMA guy, then, you know, maybe you can just do one thing.
Yep.
But I think right now in jiu-jitsu, I think it's a time to do multiple things, put your hands into different projects. Because I think that's like the best way to make a living doing this, and just put your real self out there. People get to know you a little bit better. You know, meet a couple more people, get involved in some new projects that you wouldn't have otherwise.
Sure.
And I think that's like the way to go.
It's interesting. Like most of the early generation of jiu-jitsu got their black belt at either an old age or they're Brazilian. They started young, but they didn't have the means to pursue anything other than competing or teaching. Today, you see people in the US, where I'm from, starting jiu-jitsu at the age of 5. You know what I mean? So they're going to be 21-year-old black belt.
Yeah.
At 21, you're not married. You don't have much responsibilities. That's when you take risks. And I think this generation we're sitting on right now is the risk taker generation that's going to go to uncharted territories and show us things that we didn't even think about, that like there is a way for that in jiu-jitsu. Just like you're going into the BJJ World, which nobody was doing.
Yeah.
And then everybody's like, oh, cool. People want to hear about the fucking news. Maybe this whole coaching MMA fighters, jiu-jitsu in a special way, becoming like part of a team towards MMA. This could be a new path, vlogs, media. I'm curious. I can't wait to see what happens in the next 5 years.
Absolutely.
And you can't deny that coronavirus and this pandemic accelerated what could have happened in 20 years. It's happening now. These Zoom classes, these webinars, like you just announced a Uae webinar.
Yeah. We have with Jason Rao. This upcoming Friday.
And how many people are going to attend that seminar?
I haven't checked the list this week because I've just been a little busy. But we did one with Isaac Michelle, the first one, the inaugural one. And that one, he did 60 people with like a week of promotion. Jason's a bigger guy and in the United States, so it's easier to promote with the times and stuff. Yeah. So I assume it's going to be more than 60 people for the class. And it's like just like this, like in Zoom. Yeah. And then we have like, the 60 people in there. We mute everybody. And then have one moderator on. So if you have a question, you could type it in, and then the moderator asks Jason or Isaac or the instructor at the time, and then he teaches. This is a project that I actually got together with my friend Hector from Leg Locker, the brand. He's the one that put me onto the Craig Jones seminar tour, And
Very
then
cool.
during the tour, we're like, hey man, we should do more of these seminar tours. And then of course we can't because of COVID. So we were like, all right, then let's do the same thing we wanted to do, but virtually.
I
So
love it.
we had Isaac. Like you said, this is the time and the generation that you have to figure out new things, because if not using if you don't move, you die. You know, you're gonna have to keep moving and keep.
So true.
Like I could have not done anything. I'm like, oh, bummer, like no more seminars, you know, the COVID lockdown, and then just sitting on my hands, not doing anything.
Yeah.
So now you just got to keep going. Me and Hector got on a call as soon as everything locked down, and we're like, all right, what are we gonna do? And he was like, look, man, I like this virtual seminar thing we talked about. I think we should go ahead and run with it. Isaac had just come off the tour with us. He became, again, these guys, I think Craig and Isaac, it couldn't have been a better two people to do this tour with for the first time, because they literally became like, I talk to them every day still, like we're like friends, you know. So like we got Isaac on, helped them make a little bit of money. You know, so like it's awesome, you know. It's good to see him tell me like, hey man, I made more money in this 1 hour seminar than I did working 3 days at my trucker shift here in Australia, you know. And like it kind of opens these guys up, these guys' eyes up, and they're like, I don't need to just work and train. I can do these things on my own, teach online privates, you know.
Yes.
Like, and I think going like after COVID lockdown's over, I think a lot of people are still going to be kind of like not wanting to go train at a physical spot. Yes. So that virtual thing is always still going to be open. You know, that's going to be online privates are still going to be a thing. Absolutely. So I think now you got two. Now you got a physical private that you can go and like roll with these guys, or if you're really not feeling comfortable like doing these type of things, or you're in a part of the world that you can't attend these seminars, virtually might be like the only thing you can do. And if, like you said, if it wasn't for the pandemic, none of this stuff happens.
Not in 100 years. Like we wouldn't have even considered it as an option. And man, I love it. I love what you're saying. And a big shout out to Hector, because I like it when people come together to try to build things and help accelerate how we do things. Man, this seminar, 60 people, it sounds fantastic. Like I look at things this way. Everything starts with a middleman, right? You hear this in business, you hear this in so many walks in life. You've always got middlemen that discover a source that does not know how to reach its client, and they jump on it early on, and they end up making a lot of money for a long time. That's the middleman. But usually the story goes is you start cutting the middleman, right? Not in a bad way. The middleman will always have his platform, but technology tends to be what cuts the middleman. Today, we sit in an age which accelerated. Like we're talking in a 5-year span, we're going BJJ fanatics being the middleman of jiu-jitsu techniques. And today we sit right now on your camera, live stream. You don't need the middleman. Now you're on your production team. I'm on my own, man. I don't have anybody helping me with this podcast. I'm running, you know what I mean? Like
you're on your own.
So today, the jiu-jitsu black belts that felt they needed to open an academy, take out a loan, do all this crazy shit. Now maybe I've got some techniques, something to offer. Now you start creating a brand. Right, that's what you're saying, right? That's pretty much
absolutely.
Create yourself a brand, a YouTube channel, work on it, evolve it, so that people can come to you for techniques at a cheaper rate, because you don't have to pay rent, insurance for your nothing.
Yeah,
you're just sitting at home with a webcam. Fuck, man, I'm so excited. There's so much good to come.
Yeah, man, and honestly, like even when we did the first one with Isaac, I was like, yeah, you know what? Like, I mean, I'm generally a positive person. But I was like, you know what, man? Like, we're gonna see how this goes, because I really have no idea. And we also made it to a point that it was so affordable for everybody. The pricing point is like $5, $10, $15. It's not like the occasional $100 you get for like a seminar. Like, I mean, it's not the same, because I mean, when a seminar you pay $100 for, you get to roll with these guys, which is, again, I think that's in itself worth it. Even if you get to roll with, for example, when people came to roll with Craig, even if you get to roll with Craig once, I think it's good, especially for guys who maybe not even if you're up and coming, but if you are up and coming guy, you get to see what like that high class level feels like. So you'd be like, oh, okay, then I need to do this and this and this.
Interesting. Does Craig Jones have a problem with people coming to these seminars wanting to sort of like fuck with him? Like, nobody
he loves it.
He loves it.
Oh man, I mean, he. So for a long time, he didn't have a home. Like he traveled the world. I think one year he did 70 something seminars in a year. And he told me, he was like, dude, my training, like, so you, Freddie, you go training every day. You go to a certain gym, you train every day. For him, his training is going to a gym and murdering people who are trying to murder him back. Because everybody's trying to murder. Like, you have the person who's playing nice and whatever. But, you know, ultimately, most of the people there really want to, not just submit him, just to say, but definitely try their hardest, you know, like,
man, that's crazy.
I mean, this is the only chance you have, you know, like how often do you have a world-class guy at your gym trying to, he rolls, dude, he rolls, when I say he rolls with everybody, like we have a schedule to keep, and I would have to drag. I'm like, do we have to go? We're gonna miss the flight. Like
Wow.
he would roll with absolutely everybody. Like the guy's a class act.
Wow, man, I love it. Like, you think, I can only imagine like guys with their cameras giving their friend the phone and trying to record, trying to pull something off on Craig.
Yeah.
It says a lot about being a competitor in jiu-jitsu doing these seminars, because you're putting your ass on the line.
Yeah.
To have that confidence is impressive, right?
Yeah, absolutely, man. Absolutely. And just like because like it's not only like obviously you get majority or like lower belts that he can easily destroy, of course, but you also do get a lot of the higher belt guys who are like, hey, you're just a black belt like me. Like we're gonna go at this like it was like the ADCC finals.
Yeah.
But he's the whole time super calm and collected. Obviously, if he's training with the DDS guys every day, what's one random guy on some tour? You know, there's, like I said, we said earlier, there's levels to this stuff, and he's training like him and Gordon are arguably the best in the world, you know? So like imagine getting to train with the best in the world every day. Like anything else is going to be like a walk in the park.
Man, I absolutely love that, man. That's the thing. Like I talk to a lot of my coaches and friends here. They travel. One of my good friends, Alessandro Nascimento, he travels as a referee for the Uae Jiu-Jitsu. And whenever he goes to any country, he wants to train. And most of these countries don't have black belts, or they just have like one or two. So when he enters the gym, everybody looks at him like fresh meat.
Yeah.
He's like, fuck, man. Like sometimes I just want to have fun. Like I just want to roll and have fun, but he can't, because wherever he's rolling, everybody's out to get him, and he has to show who's boss kind of situation.
Yeah. No, absolutely. But I feel like that's kind of like maybe that's just me, but I feel that same way anytime I go somewhere. Like I told you earlier, I like playing and exploring positions, but I mean, even for myself on the tour as the Uae, when I rolled with people, they gave me like 300%. And I'm like, Jesus, dude, like what the hell? Like I'm just a freaking Uae here, man, you know? Because people are like, oh, he knows Craig. He trains with Craig. This guy must be good. So, you know, I mean, everywhere I went, I got the same treatment. So it's like, even Hector, you know, he had nothing to do. He was just there with us. Like, he trained. So he would train with us, and people would give him, like, he's the leg locker guy. So people are going to give him hell, you know? So like, we were always on our toes this whole trip, you know? So
oh man, awesome. That must be petrifying. Don't stand next to Craig Jones. Just let him walk in alone, and then you come in from the other side.
It's like, I'm just some random camera guy here.
Exactly.
No, but it made it fun. You know, we got to see a lot of different styles during this trip. I got to see a lot of, for me, so when you're at a gym, you don't get to get that competition feel every day. This gave you that competition feel every day. Like driving up to the gym, I got butterflies to every new gym, because I knew when the seminar was done, we were gonna bang. Even when it wasn't a seminar day, it was like a day. For example, like we stayed in Austin for a week, so every day that week we went to 10th Planet Austin. Those guys were great, but from Monday to Friday, it was competition class style rolls, because Craig Jones and the leg locker guys are here. So yeah, it was fun.
Any like fear of injuries, any fear of like these kind of situations, or at that level?
For me, not really, because I would like to say I'm very intelligent in that part. Like I would never let something break.
Okay.
I would never hurt somebody else either. Like even if you're a black belt, and like I've dealt with a lot of issues where I've had black belts in like dangerous leg positions, and I know I will break this guy's leg, but like what do I gain out of that? You know, like I'm maybe never invited to this gym again. Now I have enemies for no reason. And then as for myself, same thing, man. Like I told you, I put myself in a lot of dangerous positions since the beginning, so I kind of know when I'm in a bad spot and when I'm not. And dude, if my arm's in a bad spot, like in a roll, that doesn't matter. Even, you know, like what's the point of me getting my arm broken on tour with it? Like it just, you know, I never see the benefit of it, you know, like.
Yeah. That's the ego conundrum, because like you said, you're in a situation where you've also got a job outside. Like you can't break your arm and still be a videographer, so you overthink it. But so many guys out there, man, I hope like the awareness grows. Obviously, now with online and media and people training in different gyms as they travel, they're becoming more aware. But people, they go roll with their ego. They try to go hardcore. And when guests come in, they need to understand that it's not just the guest is coming into your home. You got to host them. So you got to look after them as well. Yeah,
absolutely, man. And again, like for me, it's like I love this stuff. So if I break my arm and I'm out for 6 months, like what was that worth it? Was me winning that round that I didn't win anything? Like it's not like there was $40,000 on the line or like even a $5 gold medal for my BJJ. Like there was nothing on the, like, why am I going to sit myself out for 6 months just because guy got me in an armbar and I didn't feel like he should have gotten, or, you know, something dumb, you know, like
100%, dude. 100%.
For me, that's where my head's at. Like, I kind of want to always fight to live another day. I don't get me wrong. I get banged up, especially here at training. I have some training partners that will push each other, but never to the point that I'm like, you know, we're going to break each other's, you know, I've had my arm pop, but that's it, you know, like that doesn't go farther than that.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I've been on the receiving end of just crazy rolls, and I've gotten the injuries that have kept me off the mats for 6 months. And that's why, like, I'm at a point now, exactly like you're saying, if I feel somebody is taking unnecessarily high, you know, I play the defense game and I practice my defense. And as soon as I feel like it's on the wrong position, fuck it. It's not worth it.
Just start over like it never even happened, you know, like, in whatever point, like, it doesn't, I don't know. I see why a lot of, I mean, you need a little bit of ego, especially like, you know, to survive and compete. But, you know, even in a competition, unless I'm in the final or something, like, it has to be like, I don't frown upon guys that do that type of stuff, that, you know, get put out or break something, or, you know, like, if you're there, you know, and this means a lot to you in a competition, go for it. But I mean, everyday training, man, with the people you see every day who are technically your family, even on a trip, let's say I'm visiting something, you're going to really hurt a kid who just came to visit your gym. Or even if I go to somebody's gym, I'm not going to go hurt somebody at somebody's gym. It's just I think that's kind of also like how I was raised. My parents, you know, like, I kind of want to, I treat people kind of how I want to be treated. And I'll roll hard with these people. I'll give them like as much as I can, but I'm not looking to hurt somebody, or I'm not looking to get around myself, you know.
I like that, man. That says a lot about you. Listen, I would be remiss not to say this, but the Vinny Magalhaes and Craig Jones, since you've been with Craig Jones for a while, that was a situation of somebody allowing himself to pretty much obliterate their knee, right?
Yeah, I mean, I can't speak for Vinny, but he always says that, you know, he's very flexible. He always says that, you know, I mean, and rightly so. I saw a video of him literally right after, like, folding his foot, and I'm like, Jesus Christ, like, the guy's flexible but I mean, he knew what happened, man. Like, he felt that first pop, and I don't know if adrenaline goes into it. And at this point, he's like trying to live by this leg locks don't work thing. That could be a thing, you know. I don't really know, but for me now, I see him, and, you know, I'm like, man, you're an actual MMA fighter, fights for PFL. You almost fought for the title. Like, you're a successful MMA fighter. How long does this put you out for? You know, like, was it worth it? Like, now is your foot ever going to be the same? Like, for, you know, how much can like Chael Sonnen pay these guys? You know, $10,000 to a match. Like, that's not worth you. That's not the same money you make in MMA. You know, so, like, I mean, I know PFL shut down right now, but regardless, man, like, you have to remember you have a family to feed and a bigger job. This is kind of just like not an exhibition match. They both are competitors, but what's more important to a guy like Vinny, like almost $1 million check at PFL, or, you know, a submission underground card, you know, like, it's kind of like, come on, man. But I don't know. I can't speak for him, but his foot definitely went a way that they're not supposed to go,
man. That was terrifying.
It was hard to watch.
Just looking at that, it looked like, you know, when we were kids and we got those like GI Joes that fuck up their legs. It looked pretty much like that. And
it was gross.
And dude, the thing is, I think, because Vinny comes from that generation of legs locks don't work and it's a disgraceful submission. And obviously, since the Danaher Death Squad showed up and started wreaking havoc on the jiu-jitsu scene with leg locks, it gains its respect, but the cherry wasn't put on top of the cake until that fight. I think Craig Jones, Vinny Magalhaes just put that cherry on top and they left the cake alone. I don't think anybody, after seeing that in action, is gonna fuck with leg locks. Like, they're not gonna just be like, I don't care and I'll never tap.
I mean, it's kind of crazy to believe that that's what it took, to be honest with you, because I've seen a lot of bad stuff in the past too, like aside from that. But I definitely have not seen a heel and a knee point in the same direction. I've never seen that. And I mean, dude, props to Vinny, because he walked off. Like, he didn't get carried off. He didn't get carried off. Or that guy's tough, man. Like, good for him. I mean, if that's what he wants to do, I can't sit here and say what he should have or he shouldn't have done. You know, he's a professional athlete, but man, that's rough. It was definitely rough to see.
I want to ask you, do you see us going back to jiu-jitsu normally after such a crazy time?
I think, man, I want to say, I think eventually we will, but I think, starting off, there's going to be a lot of restrictions. I'm already reading a lot of the restrictions now. It's super crazy. Like for my school, for example, like, we're getting, the thermometer gun, right outside to make sure your temperature is okay. Once you're inside, you gotta, we have like a keychain now to digitally check in. So we don't have like a regular check-in cards that we used to have. You're supposed to, so another thing is like, we're doing more classes during the day, which is cool, but you're only allowed to attend one of them yourself. You can't attend 2 or 3 classes a day. So they want you in the building one time and then out. but I think that's just going to be for a little bit until, especially California, man. Like I'm in a state that like where everybody's trying to, they never want to be first. They really want to be safe. I mean, if I'm in Florida right now, my training partners are actually open. Today's Monday. So today's their first opening of like what to them is regular class. And we're still like a few weeks away. We're not anywhere close. But yeah, when I talked to my professor, he was like, yeah, you know what? Like, we're going to open up with the restrictions that the government is giving us and stuff. But it's same training partner, classes are shorter. So there's not going to be super long stuff because now they need time in between classes to clean mats and stuff. Right. And like the walls and all stuff. So it's going to be more like a cleaning thing change. I feel like they're going to take more serious, like the cleaning of the training area, which is always good. But it definitely is going to be more limited as far as like how many classes we could take a day and your training partner, and how close you are to your other training partners. It's going to be like you and your pair are going to be like in one corner of the room, and then the other guy's going to be in another corner of the room. And I think he says something like 20 people per class now at this point. Like I think a total of 50 could be in the total building, and we have Muay Thai, so it'd be like 20 for the Muay Thai, 20 for the Jiu-Jitsu, and then your staff also counts as people. So it's going to be rough. I mean, for the competition team, we were right at that 20 mark, but I see like they have fundamental classes with 40 or 50 people. It's a big Renzo Gracie affiliate here in Los Angeles, so that's where I feel like it's going to hurt. From my end, like I'm already in the competition class. I'm already in like the class that not a lot of people go to. So I'm going to see my same training partners if they decide to go train once the lockdown's over. But it's definitely going to affect like the big classes, the big white belt classes, people who are starting to sign up. Because the fact that we had maybe 4 classes a day, I think we're going to be looking upwards, like double that, like 8-10 classes a day. Different instructors, different levels, just so like people could come and still get their class in. But it sucks, man. I was planning on going once it's locked. When I came back from this trip, I was ready to do jiu-jitsu 2 times a day, Muay Thai like 2 times a day. But it kind of put a stinker on that for a little bit. But I think eventually we will, man. I think eventually we will get back to it, because as a community, like I don't see it lasting with so many restrictions. No. If it, like this virus is like the worst for us. Like this is like as intimate as it gets, besides like being with like, this is like you're literally on top of somebody, hugging somebody, like as close, your face is as close. So like there's just no way to do that with restrictions. I think if you train, you kind of don't care. You're just like, I've been doing this for a long time. So I think eventually we will, but it's going to take a little bit.
It's unfortunate because I think we're in uncharted territory and we're pretending like we know what the fuck we're doing, but we really don't. We don't even understand this virus enough to understand that it will make even a fucking difference whether we're 20 or 30 people on the mats. And the thing is, these restrictions, what I feel they're doing is just, it's going to make it more expensive on gym owners to run jiu-jitsu. It would make more financial sense to stay closed than to run at lower capacity, switching the fuck out of coaches every class, in and out, cleaning 10 times a day. And like, I feel like the reopening phase of being unsure is going to hurt gyms more than the closing phase to some extent.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you're right. It's putting a lot of unnecessary stress on gym, and especially in this part where we don't know, like you said, everything changes. It was to a point that everything changed every hour over here. Like I would turn on the news. It was one thing. I'd turn off the news, take a nap, wake up. I don't know, like it took developing every hour. So it's so new, man. I definitely think like what they're doing right now is definitely putting a lot of stress on gyms. Not just jiu-jitsu, just gyms in general. Even my gym, we already had hand sanitizer like normal. Now we have like something like 17 hand sanitizer stations. I'm like, Jesus, man, just it's, I don't know. For me, like I don't really care. Like I said, this is like we do this all the time. Like what? Like for me, I traveled, I did all this stuff. I'm like, if I didn't have it, I don't know. I don't know. It's like, so for me, it's kind of like I'm already looking back to just starting as normal, even with restrictions. Like I'm going to hug my friends. I'm going to roll with my friends. The restrictions aren't really going to stop me from being able to do this type of stuff.
Not fucking crazy. We got to say that I'm going to hug my friends, when in my life would I've ever thought that I have to think twice about hugging or shaking hands with people? It's fucking crazy.
It's weird, man. It's weird.
But listen, I like what you've done with the t-shirts, the We Are One. Yeah, the t-shirt. So can you talk to us a little bit about what the point is behind this and what you're trying to do?
So I saw what Hyperfly did. I got the idea from the brand Hyperfly. They did like a lot of the schools are suffering right now. Right. So a lot of schools are obviously closed and can make some money. Some schools are closing down, unfortunately. So Hyperfly teamed up with Flow Grappling, and they were like, "Hey, we're gonna design a T-shirt, and all the proceeds from this T-shirt are gonna go to like a school of your choice." And then I watched the post grow, and I'm like, "Oh man, this is an awesome idea." So I was like, "You know what? I'm gonna take a page from their book." I even gave them the credit. I was like, "Yo, these guys started it.
I saw that.
They gave me the inspiration." And I kind of want to do the same. I kind of want to I mean, it's definitely not going to be as much money as Hyperfly and Flow Grappling were able to raise together. But I mean, I feel like even if I raise something like $500 for somebody, I mean, I hope that helps, you know.
Man, exactly.
But yeah, I want to pick a school. I want to pick a school by the end of this Friday.
Yes.
And yeah, just message them and see how I haven't even checked how the shirts have been doing, but I've got a lot of good response from them. So I'm hoping they're doing good. And I just really just want to, like, this is what I do, man. So I really just want to help somebody during these times.
Good for you. And listen, everybody listening right now, you heard that the guy was a T-shirt printer. He was a guy that knows T-shirt. So I know Flow Grappling and stuff, they came up with the idea, and I love how you show respect. But this guy knows how to print T-shirts. So you're getting quality for what you're paying. Man, I love everything that you're up to. And I want to ask you before we wrap this up, what are you planning now for the future of BJJ World? What can we expect and look forward to?
So once the lockdown's over with, I want to partner up back with Hector from Leg Locker and do a lot of more of these seminar tours, because I had so much fun doing that, man. I love living out of my backpack. I love traveling, meeting new people, shooting, the hotel life, hotel breakfast, that whole because in that situation, so many bad things happen. Like the car breaks down, we miss our flight, so that part of excitement is fun for me. So hopefully once this is over, I want to do more of that. I want to do more documentary style stuff, kind of like I did with the Craig Jones thing.
Can't wait.
And yeah, man, I think that's where like the news, like I mentioned earlier, the news are awesome. I love the news. It's like easy edits for me. It's like a easy way to keep the channel growing and keep the people engaged, because I can't always put out like quality content like a vlog or like a documentary like so often. So the news can keep people busy while in the background I'm working on like the big projects, which is like, those documentaries, those I want to dive into athletes' lives. I kind of want to do like kind of how ESPN does 30 for 30 for athletes. I want to do that for jiu-jitsu guys. Beautiful. Like where they came from, what they're doing, like their story. It doesn't even have to be where they came from. Maybe a grappler has a crazy life story, like they almost died or something, or whatever, whatever it could be. I enjoy the background of the stuff, because like I mentioned to you, that's like where you can relate to these guys. That's where you fall in love with these guys. You're like, man, like this guy did this, I can do this, or whatever. Yes. And I don't feel like there's a lot besides Stuart Cooper, the number one. He started doing these type of stuff. I kind of want to follow in his footsteps. Yes. And it's awesome that I reached out to him. He's always been like a huge supporter of me and what I do. So maybe even one day, hopefully work with the man himself and put out some good quality content. And
it's amazing. You have to look at the blueprint of people that succeeded in what you want to do. And you have to try to learn from them and imitate to a point until you find and discover yourself. And it's brilliant what you're doing. But listen, a lot of people do it from a very narcissistic approach and very much self-driven. After talking to you, I'm really happy to have met you and talked to you, because you're a very humble guy, respectful, and you're unique in the field that you do. Because a lot of people in media lack the genuine aspect, the authenticity. You're surrounding yourself with authentic guys in BJJ, and I'm so happy. It's refreshing talking to you and hearing your story. Can't wait till you fucking do all this stuff, man. I'm going to be the first person to watch them.
Yeah, awesome, man. Thank you. Hopefully I'm over there visiting you soon once all this stuff is up. I would love to go out there and document what you guys are doing. I think the whole like you guys showing, like having kids do jiu-jitsu from when they're 7, it's amazing, because like you were saying earlier, like they might not like it, or they might, I did karate when I was little, and I only liked it for a few years. So I already see kids falling out of love with jiu-jitsu, which is okay. But the life lessons that they learned from that carries over to whatever else they want to do. So 100%. Just the fact that you guys are doing that from the get-go, I think it's huge. And I think like you guys don't have a lot of coverage on that. So hopefully once it's all up and done, we could link up, and I'll go visit you guys over there, and we'll do some cool content, bro.
100%. You got brothers on this side of the world. And listen, like about this topic, you've got people that'll drive you insane. Like the kids, it's not normal, man. They're getting their career set from childhood. Imagine a kid that knows his life is set. He's got an income of a bank manager. Or someone by just being a jiu-jitsu competitor, and it makes him, man. We've got 17, 18-year-old Omar Al-Fadli. I interviewed him on my podcast. Terrifying jiu-jitsu. So I can't wait for all of this stuff, man. But listen, it's been a real honor talking to you, a real pleasure. I can't wait to do this more often with you and keep linking up every now and then. Guys, I hope you guys enjoyed this podcast with Freddy. Thank you so much for doing this, brother.
Thank you, man. I really appreciate you having me. Whenever you want, I'll love to always come back, man. This is fun.
Hell yeah, man. Appreciate you. Thanks a lot for tuning in, guys. Have a good one. I'll see you guys on the next podcast. Woos.